So this apparently is a one-on-one with a critical race theory opponent with Joy Ann Reid. I'm very interested in what she has to say and what this critical race theory opponent has to say, because the thing is, okay, I am open to hearing criticisms of a kind of like new strain of thought on the issue of race in America, right? The problem is, I hear like people like say like critical race theory is coming to like destroy the youth's minds, and it's gonna make everyone extra racist, and it's gonna make black kids hate white kids, and white kids hate black kids, and white kids hate themselves, and all this stuff. And I'm like, wow, this is terrifying. And then I hear what people are describing as critical race theory, at least from the right-wing spectrum, and it's something like they're gonna hate America because they're gonna think America's a racist country. And I'm like, America has like a ton of racism in it and a lot of problems with racism. So I mean, that's not really that scary. And like, was going to say that America was founded in racism. Well, I mean, 3/5 was enshrined. I mean, there was a lot of racism in the fact. It wasn't only racism, but a lot of it was. And then I'll listen and I'm like, oh, this is actually not about critical race theory in particular. It is about basically the same extension of the conversation we've been having in race in America for the last forever. And so I'm very curious as to what this conversation is going to be different, or if it's going to be the same. Yak as we always have. So I'm very curious about this one-on-one. Oh, let me turn on the volume first. I think that's probably a smart thing to do.
Of critical race theory. So we reached out to him. I've interviewed him before. So we reached out to him because you say he's the guru of critical race theory. You name him a lot in a lot of your, both in your manifesto or your talking points memo, but also in your video. We reached out to him. We asked him if he's a critical race theorist. He said, I admire critical race theory, but I don't identify as a critical race theorist. I'm not a legal scholar, so I wasn't trained on critical race theory. I'm a historian. And Chris would know this if he actually read my work or understood that critical race theory is taught in law schools. I didn't attend law school, which is where critical race theory is taught. It's really the only place it's taught. NBC has looked into everywhere, and it's not taught in elementary school. But hold on a second. This is the second thing he said, which...
Okay, so first off, this person that's talking about, I don't really know who this guy is, but I've heard his name brought up a lot when people talk about critical race theory. That's kind of like a boogeyman. So I assume that what Roy is doing, Reid? I'm sorry. What Joy is doing here is basically being like, hey, this person that you're showing us a boogeyman of critical race theory, they're not even a critical race theorist. God, this play button sucks.
It's strange to me that you...
Let me respond. This is not a monologue. This should be a dialogue, right? Am I right?
It's my show, so it's how I want to do it. So let me read you one more quote from him, because you've made a lot of claims about critical race theory saying that white Americans are inherently racist, that racism is inherent to whiteness. And that is one of the core charges that you're making about, these sort of what you consider like sort of woke studies in school. This is what Ibram Kendi has said in his own words. He said, we've been taught that racist is essential to who a person is. It's a fixed category. It's in someone's heart. That's one of the reasons why people are unwilling to or unable to admit the times in which they're being racist, because it's not just admitting I was being racist in that moment. Basically, we're tattooing racist on our forehead for the rest of our lives. Isn't that the opposite of what you're arguing?
Well, I'll say two things. First of all, it's very interesting to me that so many people are now running away from the race of the label of critical race theory. But
he's not a critical race theorist.
Hold on. I'm going to quote two critical race theorists. Barbara Applebaum with the book Being Good, Being White. She says, quote, all white people are racist. Robin DiAngelo, who's another critical whiteness studies scholar, says that, quote, all white identity is inherently racist.
He's just plowing through.
You're playing a series of word games. You know that critical whiteness studies is a subfield of critical race theory?
No, it's not.
These things are all deeply interrelated.
No, they're not.
And I'm not going to let you play word games. And this is really, I think, the most essential thing.
Hold on.
She's like that guy who just said not a critical race theory. That woman he just said not a critical race theory. He just plowing through like he needs to tear down this house altogether. Just not paying attention. Also, Joy's teeth, as pointed out by chat, very, very nice. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Oh, no.
Let me respond at least once. I haven't gotten a full sentence out.
Because I'm not going to let you see. One of the things that, and I don't know, you probably never watched me on TV. Just we didn't know who each other were, not so long ago. But I don't allow people to just make up and say lies on the show. It's just not really right to do that and let people hear. But hold on,
but
Robin DiAngelo. Wait.
Am I right
Robin
or wrong?
DiAngelo is not a critical race theorist, and I want everyone to know that. I don't know who the other woman is, but she's not. But let's just go through a minute, because whiteness, and racist.
Sure.
Where did the term whiteness come from?
Sure, and I think this is an important point, and I hope you let me actually get a full paragraph out about this.
Go for it.
But whiteness is the idea that there is some kind of metaphysical category in the world, that all white people are reducible to this essence of whiteness. Then what happens is that they load all of these negative connotations. They say that whiteness is, by definition, that includes white fragility, includes white privilege, includes internalized white superiority. And then what they do is they try to impose these reductive racial categories onto individuals. And I actually agree with Kendi's approach. I think that we should fight race essentialism. But the problem is that critical race theory enshrines race essentialism.
But you
and you see it in schools. And I'll give you 3 examples of critical race theory being taught in schools.
Hold on one second.
Okay, so what I'm confused is, you can't just cite people to go after a theory when those people aren't even proponents of said theory. It'd be like me saying, I'm going to go after socialism and Marxism and communism. And then I said, here's the problems I have with President Joe Biden. Look what Joe Biden did with the drug war. Look what Joe Biden did with his comments about, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. It would be really easy for anyone to just look at you and say, he is not a Marxist. He doesn't read Marx. He doesn't espouse Marx. He's never claimed to be a Marxist. He doesn't value Marxist principles. He doesn't value any of these principles. So you can't use attacks against Joe Biden's as like criticism of Marxism. If you wanted to criticize Marxism, you'd have to go to Marxist scholars. You'd have to maybe go after like Caleb Maupin, or if socialism, maybe Dr. Wolf or like modern Marxists. You wouldn't go after Joe Biden. And that is essentially what he's doing here. What he's doing is going after people who aren't even critical race theorists. The first person mentioned, she had a direct quote from them saying, I'm not a critical race theorist. And then the next person, apparently she doesn't have a record on, but on the third person also wasn't a critical race theorist. So out of the 3 people mentioned, 2 of which aren't even critical race theorists, and the third one is yet to be determined. So I don't know how these would be criticism of critical race theory. If you want to criticize their work on the individual level, then call into the show and ask to come on to criticize her book, not a theory that they don't even espouse.
Cupertino, California.
These are in your talking points, sir. Chris, these are in your talking points, and I know what you're going to say because you said it with Mark Lamont Hill. You repeat these same things. They're in this manifesto. People can read it online. Let me just go for a second. On the subject of whiteness, are you aware, since you say that I guess you're sort of a quasi-historian in your thinking, that whiteness was actually formed in the...
The thing is, I feel like a lot of people, and this is something that if you have a position on an issue, a lot of times they just make the rounds. And what I mean by make the rounds is they'll go to this channel, then this channel, then this channel, and their whole day is just made full of media appearances. It helps boost their Twitter followers. It helps get them interactions. It's really beneficial to help build your own brand and to help put out information about an issue you care about. The problem is you get into like a pattern of just repeating the same things, and eventually you develop dialogue trees. And so if you do that too often, what can happen is someone like Joy can just write down all your points that you're going to bring up, write counters, and you're coming in here with your dialogue tree, and she's come with like a saw and an axe ready to cut down your tree. So you gotta mix it up every once in a while. Give different examples, cite different sources on different occasions. You can't just like basically just read us the same paragraph every time you go on Fox and Friends.
United States, that whiteness didn't even exist as a thing. Europeans were all European. They considered themselves Italian or Polish or whatever. When the colonists came here, they actually created the idea of whiteness. This is from the Smithsonian.
I agree with that.
As a way to distinguish themselves from what they call the savages, the natives, and from black people, from Africans, who even if you had a little African in you, if you're Plessy, who's 7/8 white, if you are African in any aspect, that you are reduced of rights. So people that you don't like, that are doing this sort of wokeness training, are saying whiteness has always had power. There used to be a saying, I'm free, white, and 18. It was commonly said in the 50s and 60s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. So whiteness has power. So people who want to decouple whiteness from power, that's what you're annoyed by, right? Let me play a little bit of what you said. You did a speech. Hold on. You did a speech at the Claremont Institute.
What did he just object to? He just said no randomly.
How you really feel about the academics of it. Here it is. This is cut. I think this is it 3? Yeah, go for it. Play it.
I'm a white guy fighting critical race theory.
Do you identify as white?
I mean, I'm an Italian American, so you tell me. Lumping people into white, black, Asian, as you suggested, is such a crude and broad categorization.
There's these like very kind of pathetic and very, angry graduate students that try to fight me on these highly technical, Hegel interpretations. And it's like, I don't have time for this. I don't give a about this stuff.
So you don't give an S about this stuff. You're really just having a campaign to take everything that annoys
Joy,
white Americans and white
Joy,
conservatives.
okay.
That's not right.
You
No.
won't
Oh
make a
my
campaign.
God. Okay, so this guy's a cherry tree, and she is George Washington just coming in swinging. What do I think of terms like white privilege? Well, yeah, as a white person, I do have privilege. Does that mean I am privileged all around? No. I came from a background of my mother and father both being users. I lost my mother to heroin addiction. I have a history of depression, and I'm also gay, and, there's struggles that come with that when it comes to adoption and employment and discrimination and stuff like that and societal views. But you want to know what? When it comes to the death penalty, I am less likely to be sentenced to death than a black man. When it comes to marijuana charges, I am much less likely to be thrown in a cell for smoking weed than a black man, even though we smoke marijuana at the same rates. Not saying I do, but as racial categories. There are certain privileges that I have that black people don't. So it's not saying I am Dylan and I am super privileged and life was easy for me from the get-go. No, it wasn't. But I don't experience the same struggles that black people do. I don't feel guilty or something. A lot of people try to paint it, oh, that's white guilt. I have nothing to feel guilty about. I didn't make this system, but I'd like to help tear down that systematic racism. I have nothing to feel guilty about because I am not proud of that system. I want to see it get abolished. I didn't build it. There's nothing to do with white guilt. It just has to do with the reality of the country we live in and the situation that is the United States in the 21st century.
And stuff everything in
there.
You played my highlight reel.
You played my highlight reel. Give me a chance to respond.
And you want to stuff
wrong.
it all into critical race theory, right?
What I don't think is right is that forcing 8-year-olds in Cupertino, California to deconstruct their racial identities and then rank themselves according to power and privilege. It's intersectionality theory, which was invented by Kimberly Crenshaw.
It's a separate thing.
Which is part of critical race theory.
No, it's not, dear.
You had her on your show. You know this.
Yeah, she invented
and
both
the bottom
things.
Line, Joy.
She invented both things.
What you've done in tonight's segment is exactly what I'm fighting against. I'm fighting against the manipulation of language.
Manipulation of language. You called two people critical race theorists who are self-admitted not critical race theorists. Who she was able to get a direct quote from one of them saying, "I am not a critical race theorist. I never went to this school to study this. I don't believe this." And the other person, who she even knew off the back of her hand was a critical race theorist. Then you keep going down this path, just like throwing these labels out there. You don't even got your own race in order. Then you bring up this other thing, intersectionality, which is not critical race theory. That's a separate thing. You can believe in intersectionality and not believe in critical race theory, right? I have a much deeper understanding of intersectionality than I do critical race theory. You want to know why? Because they're two separate things. Could they have overlap? Sure, but they're not the same thing. And you could say, well, they were made by the same person. Okay, does that mean a light bulb is the same as a phonograph just because Thomas Edison made both? That doesn't make any sense.
Right, you're fighting against wokeness, and you don't like corporate wokeness, etc. I get it.
Euphemistic terms with subversive content. Because otherwise you just say whatever you want and then you back away from it and you dance around it. It's not going to happen. Parents all over this country, they know what's happening in schools. They know what's happening in their public institutions.
He didn't make either. Okay, look, you know what I meant. And if an inventor makes one thing and an inventor makes a second thing, then that doesn't mean they're the same thing. And
you're seeing people revolt against this divisive identity politics. And you can dance all you want. But you're not going to stop people from understanding what's happening in their classrooms.
I actually appreciate that you said that because, Christopher, what you basically, and you admit it yourself, that you've taken all of these sort of wokeness moments, corporate wokeness, the corporate sort of woke money, woke capital, the things that annoy conservatives, and you've stuffed it all into the name critical race theory. It's really like it's like Christopher Rufo theory. You stuffed it all in. Here's what you said. You tweeted this. The activists.
Listen,
hold on one second. I'm going to read you to you, and then you can respond to it. I'm going to read you to you, and then you respond to it. The activists are realizing that their ideas, once put into practice, are generating discontent, which is you just described. Their racial coalition is also breaking apart. Asian Americans, in particular, revolting against CRT, which is really Christopher Rufo theory because you made it up, is punishing them more than any other group. Then you said we have successfully frozen their brand, critical race theory, into the public conversation and are steadily driving up negative perceptions. We will eventually turn it toxic as we put all the various cultural insanities under that brand category. The goal is to have the public read something crazy in the newspaper and immediately think critical race theory. We have decodified the term and will recodify it to annex the entire range of cultural constructions that are unpopular with Americans. Aren't you just taking wokeness?
What she said is he admitted why would he give up the whole plan? Oh my God. Why would he give up the whole plan from the get-go? Like, here is my plan to make it anything anybody does wrong or bad or doesn't like something, and then he just think it's critical race theory off the bat. This is no different than Thanks Obama, which if you stubbed your toe, Obama's fault. If you fell on your face, Obama's fault. If the Republicans did something, Obama's fault. If the Republicans didn't do something, Obama's fault. If the Democrats did something, Obama's fault, unless it's good. And if the Democrats failed at something, Obama's fault. It's no different than that. It's the same tack of just anytime anything bad happens, you just throw it at this scary label, and then you can use it to attack the left. The thing that's different is why would he admit it and then object to admitting it when she says this to him? Why would he do that?
Stuff that annoys you and calling it critical race theory?
No, not at all. The idea of the codification and decodification of language comes from the critical pedagogist Paulo Freire. And my strategy is to take these...
Now you're doing pedagogy, Christopher?
Yes.
Come on.
To take these techniques and use them against their own ideology. And I'll tell you, Joy, my strategy has been enormously successful. According to the Economist magazine poll, 64%...
I mean, so is Blitzkrieg. It doesn't mean it's good. The thing is, okay, think of like a secret message, like you post somewhere, right? Like a secret message, like a secret plan you have. Out of all the places you would post it, why would you post it on Twitter, man? Like, you post it on one of the most readily available things. It's not even a really old tweet, like from 2009, when you never thought you would get this big. This is like from this year when this topic was like building up. Why would he admit it online? Like, if I had a strategy to basically make it that, I don't know, every single time something bad happened, I'd blame it on Republican gerrymandering. I just label gerrymandering. If you stubbed your toe, gerrymandering. Did this, gerrymandering. Why would you admit it? Give them the guidebook. Tell everybody the thing. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Not only is he incorrect about critical race theory, and he's labeling people critical race theorists who aren't critical race theorists, he's giving up the plan on how exactly he's going to do it. And then going on national television to get humiliated by Joy.
Percent of Americans now know what critical race theory is.
No, they know what Christopher Rufo theory is.
Of which 58% of them
you made up your own thing, bro. You made up your own thing. You admitted you were going to do it. And I'm going to give you credit for one thing. You did create your own thing. Not a lot of guys in their 30s have created their own thing, labeled it something that already existed as a name, slapped that brand name on it, and turned it into a successful political strategy. You've done that. It's creating a lot of hell at school board meetings, but you did accomplish that. So, Christopher Rufo, thank you, man. Thank you for being here.
Well,
really
Joy, I appreciate it. And I'll give you the position as the most prestigious Christopher Rufo theory scholar in the world. I hope next time you give me at least a chance to complete 2 sentences. I think it'll be a lot more fun.
Well, not if you're going to do talking
again
points.
Next time.
They were your talking points. So
again.
people can read your talking points online because they're online as well. You can read all of them. Thank you.
I'm sorry, but she like choke slammed this man and like broke the ring. This was like a Snake to Jake Roberts DDT, like easy clap, like bam. I'm sorry, but my God. She just like steamrolled this guy. Made a bottom out of him. Okay, calm down. Calm down. I know it's Pride Month, but we gotta calm down.